School inspection is now found in many countries across the globe. It has been around for 200 years, yet it can still be controversial. Each country has a different system, but what should we look for as the guiding rules or principles to enable an inspection system to be effective? My name is Adrian Gray. I was the Senior Inspector and Manager with Ofsted, the School Inspectorate in England, and also an executive member of the organisation that brings together school inspectorates across Europe. I've advised the Parliamentary Select Committee here in the UK and advised other national inspectorates such as Azerbaijan. I'm also the author of a book on inspection across Europe. I believe there are some consistent rules or principles that shape effective school inspection. Today I'm going to select 12 based on my experience. Let's see if you agree with my selection. In my view, the first rule is that there are two main reasons why any school system should be inspected. Firstly, if a school receives public funds, then the taxpayer has a right to know that they are being spent wisely. Secondly, even if a school is privately funded, it should still be inspected. This is to protect the interests of the children. So any school, anywhere, should be subject to inspection. Rule number 2 is that inspectors should be entirely independent of the schools they inspect. An official who is line manager for a school or controls its funding or staffing cannot be an independent inspector. If you have some responsibility for a school, you cannot make an independent assessment of it. The inspectorate should be entirely separate. There have been many discussions about what makes the best inspection framework. In outline, you can certainly have too many judgments. This makes it too complex for the school and creates an unreasonable burden for inspectors, often resulting in only limited evidence being gathered for some of the grades. However, you can also have too few grades. In England at the moment, Ofsted only have 4 grades plus an overall one. These very broad categories tend to overlap with each other, so for most schools they're going to get the same grade for everything. For inspection to have credibility, it needs to be trusted by teachers as well as politicians, and probably also by parents. This is a question of balance. Over time, there have been many examples when governments have forced the inspection system to reflect their own specific views about education, with the result that teachers neither respect nor trust it. It gets unbalanced. On the other hand, if politicians feel that the inspectorate has been captured by the teaching profession and ignores what they want, then they don't trust it either. So it's out of balance again. The answer should be that inspection should reflect an independent balance of views, including what the best research is saying about education. But the inspectorate itself should also be publicly accountable for its decisions, how it comes to that balance. Inspection is less successful when it tries to define in detail what should be done. People still try to come up with long lists of the features of good teaching, for example, and then the inspectors try to tick off everything. I've seen sometimes lists of 30 or more things that to look out for in a lesson. It's impossible. You would not also see every feature in every lesson. It is much better to look at the impact or lack of it and then ask, why is this so? Why is it that children are learning well in this lesson? Inspection should not create long lists that then become a straitjacket for schools, teachers, or indeed inspectors. At various times, school inspectors have been drawn from the clergy, university professors, or even members of the public. But to have impact, inspectors have got to win the confidence of those that they inspect. Otherwise, their reports will be ignored and have little impact. So, effective inspectors must have a strong record themselves and be able to inspire confidence in others. This often means that they need to be well paid compared to other education professionals. On the other hand, having been a good head teacher or principal does not guarantee that someone will be a good inspector. Yes, inspectors do need to have leadership skills, but they also need to be skilled evaluators, able to gather a range of evidence and interpret what it means. Having been a great head teacher can even be a disadvantage, since inspectors need to be able to detach themselves and not get trapped into saying, "This is how I would do it." And actually, you can lead a school successfully without being a great analyst in the way that inspectors need to be. Some inspection systems are built around a set of regulations. This is a great approach for a high-risk system which is developing, as it helps to create a set of minimum standards. Schools have to meet these expectations, and the yes or no is the answer from this type of framework. However, some schools will quickly outgrow the restriction of these sorts of minimum standards, at which point this type of inspection is little help to them. They will need a different approach if it's to have any impact on helping them to improve. So, to keep a system improving, you need to be able to differentiate between the good and the great. Which of the schools are worth travelling 50 miles to see? This can be done through the use of grades, such as excellent, good or satisfactory. But the same effect can be achieved by a clear commentary on every school's strengths and weaknesses. However, a simple grade system tends to be popular with politicians and also with parents, though less so with schools themselves. Nonetheless, everyone likes it if they are judged outstanding. An inspection framework should clarify what good looks like, and this helps to drive improvement by preventing an isolated mentality spreading. You can define what the aims and aspirations of a school should be like. Having it published is therefore essential. Schools can then see what they need to do. Head teachers also find it gives them an extra lever for change. Many have told me that they tell their staff, "We need to do this because the inspectorate says so." Sometimes this is even true. However, there is a downside. A framework cannot cover everything. Indeed, it's fatal to try to do so. And so there is a risk also that there are unintended consequences. Schools focus only on what they think the inspectors will look at and ignore other areas. As a result, frameworks need to change at regular intervals. Well, the next one is to do with data. Well, some schools hate the idea that they will be judged on the basis of their data. However, they should ask, what are the alternatives? At least with data, you all know where you are. But if an inspection depends only on observation, then it is much more open to the interpretation of the individual inspector. Inspectors would not, for example, judge a school for attendance simply on the basis of what they happen to see during one morning in school. I'm sure you'd agree, you'd rather your school was judged on the data about attendance over a long period of time. So data should be everybody's friend because everybody has the same data. But of course, it must be good and data that is going to tell you the truth about a school. Well, one way in which data can be good is if it is contextualized. If it is not, then inspection risks the unintended consequence of discouraging good school leaders from working in more challenging areas. Everybody should have a fair chance. We know that some types of pupils make more progress than others, and we should therefore allow for this. Even something like the size of the school should be taken into account. In fact, school leaders should never be judged on issues that they have no control over. Well, that concludes my list of 12 key principles for school inspection. Do you agree with my choice? You can keep in touch with my education work via my LinkedIn page, or you can contact me on my website or by email under the name of River Education. I hope that I've provided you something to think about.